Welcome to Wondering About Wyoming. It's been several weeks since you saw us. Today we'll be talking about the pretty low. Can you go higher up? My seat is way higher than yours. Oh, much better. We were last, I don't remember what we talked about last. It's not important. Today was one of the days of the US Biathlon Nationals, pre-Olympics, for skiing and marksman.
Skiing and shooting.
Skiing and shooting. And we volunteered up on the mountain, Casper Mountain. Ray, what did you do up on that there hill?
I was counting, or I was noting down all the racers who were going around the penalty loop, and I was noting every time a racer would go around
You're very loud.
the penalty loop.
In real life, you're really loud. I just don't want her to yell at us again.
That's fine. And we're, because of the lack of walls, and we're in the library, there is some sound.
Carrying. I think it's because when you were doing your Baldur's Gate 2 voiceovers, you said the word balls really loud. And then teats.
I don't think anyone heard the other one.
Yeah, nobody heard teats, but I did.
Okay. Anyway, this is studio. And, oh yes, penalty loops in the biathlon are something that happens, well, basically, you go to the gun range part of the biathlon. You shoot your rifles. And when you miss, for every miss you have out of the targets, you have to do an extra loop. And this is called the penalty loop.
I didn't realize that it had to do with as many as you missed, you have to go in circles.
Yes.
I was wondering how that worked.
So you were scoring, and I understand that they had to hit 5 targets.
Yeah.
So for every target they missed,
And they could only have 5 shots to do it. So
they had to go around the loop. And I understand that a lot of the people who were going around the loop actually did much better yesterday when the weather was nice and the wind was not
harsh.
in typical Casper, Wyoming fashion.
Indeed, it was quite chilly. I did the scoring on lane 23 and 24, which it was very exciting and rapid. You had, athletes coming in, coming out. You had to keep track of their amount of successful shots and their poor shots, and then their bib number and any penalties that you can keep an eye out on, such as crossfire or using more than the 5 allotted 22 shells. Everyone was very thin and long, and their faces drawn out like northern Europeans. Many freckles. The pale pink leatheriness of one who spends much of their time outside, like a sea captain or, say, a ski bro. It was very difficult to tell the difference between, because they were wearing like these really thin like yoga pants, yoga shirts, but full body, so they kind of were like in like one big long colorful spandex suit. It was hard to tell the difference between the men and the women. Easier to tell the difference for some, but mostly it was just like these gangly octopi people.
I did not have that trouble. I see gender.
And so we met several people And they gave out bagel, ham, and cheese sandwiches, which was nice, and had egg on it. We were planning on, he was planning on fasting for the next 2 days, and I was going to half-heartedly join him, but what happened to that?
As I was standing out there, I was like, no, I don't feel like fasting today.
Because it was so cold and everything was shaking. My extremities, which in the adrenaline of when they were coming in and I was taking scores, I didn't notice it as much, but you really needed to move around. It was very, maybe 5 degrees out today, including with the wind chill.
I made a hole for myself from stamping my feet.
Yeah, he was like a little toy nutcracker soldier over there. And the gentleman you were with was not having the weather. He was old and kind, I'm sure. But
there were participants, there were racers who were over 70.
yeah, one name was Anne, and she was the last one through. She was 72 years old, and she looked not 72. She was also tall and thin and genderless. But yeah, I don't understand how they stayed warm, because it was like you're wearing leggings, 5 degree, and I understand that you're like, you're hoofing it, and you're skiing, and you're shooting, and you're up and down, and you're sweating some, but then like your body it's like maybe a little bit of evaporation, but the sun wasn't out. So I was like, how are they just not having frozen clothes? I don't know how they were staying warm.
Meanwhile, I had icicles on my mustache and beard.
Oh, but yours wasn't the most serious one I saw. I saw a competitor who had like a ping pong ball size dangling from his lip. It was like this big. It was a circle, a full circle. He didn't have a beard. It was just hanging off his lip. Off it, and like maybe attached to his balaclava. As a volunteer, you got goodie bag, and in the goodie bag, there was a hat that said Championship Biathlon 2023. Chapstick, a hand warmer preheater thingy, a balaclava. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
What else? Stickers. Yep.
She's been looking for a balaclava, so.
Yeah. So I got what I wanted by doing my part to serve our community.
We did find out that the rifles they're using are like $3,000.
Minimum for the cheap ones. So if you're thinking about becoming an Olympian biathloner, similar to all the other winter sports and sports in general, expensive.
Soccer is not expensive.
I'm trying to think, what are other non-expensive Olympic sports? I guess running.
Wrestling is very
Wrestling.
cheap to do.
Because you just have to put on a tiny, tiny little
Singlet.
dress.
Like you can spend money on the wrestling shoes, but
Swimmers.
you don't have to.
I guess probably swim
Swim.
up or like less than $200.
If you have a body of water that's public access, then swimming becomes cheap.
Yeah.
Same with running.
Yeah, none of the winter sports seem cheap.
So
You need a lot of gear.
apparently, this modern form of the biathlon was from the military training in the past, and as recently as the 40s, it was still you used real like military rifles and practical skis. So I imagine using that, and when I say like, how, I don't know if you know, but if
Do
you
you
look it
know?
up, you'll see
I'll look it
how
up.
Siberian trappers and stuff make their own skis, and how skis have been made for 1,000 years, which is to say by shaving wood and then bending it when it's heated, and then keeping it bent. So using that method and using a regular like Ruger or Savage 22 hunting rifle, you could probably do the sport for less than $500. However, probably you don't fit the regulation equipment stuff. But you could still do a version of the sport as long as you could get permission on a gun range in an alpine area next to some sort of cross-country trail.
So this venue up on Casper Mountain is a 8,000 foot elevation biathlon training center, and it is relatively new, soon to be world renowned. Obviously, we have pre-Olympic nationals happening here right today and the last couple days. And I'm sure it will be used in the summer for other sort of things. I guess the National Guard around here has used it for biathlon training as well.
I was informed today that underneath that snow is actually asphalt around the range, and so then it can be used for bicycle biathlon.
Oh.
And they don't know if they're doing cycling or running this summer, maybe both.
Yeah, look out, Vale. We're taking you down. And other places of portent.
What is Vale?
What is Vale? It's a ski, you talk about the places in the world or the United States where people go skiing. It's super popular. Vale is one of them. It's in Colorado.
Oh, I guess I just only hear about Jackson Hole.
Well, I don't think skiing has been much on your radar.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe Vale isn't what it used to be. I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'm pretty on the money with it being about the money there.
Mm-hmm.
What else did we see today?
Yeah, I guess it's interesting to see that the local National Guard is quite involved in biathlon, but then it makes sense because apparently the light infantry unit here is attached to a Alaskan battalion, and so they do their training in Alaska.
Sounds like fun. If you guys haven't seen the show Physical 100 yet, do recommend.
So that brings us to, what do you think a Physical 100 set in Wyoming would look like?
Yeah.
Already we would
send us a message on the comments, and we will make your dreams come true. No?
But I mean, that's not my particular focus. Is not necessarily that, but I suppose if suddenly someone were to fund us with a couple $1 million.
Anybody got $1 million?
Couple million.
Oh. Yeah. Couple million.
Yeah, I'm
I
pretty
thought
sure.
you said it was 60,000 to get the combat playground taken care of.
That is not the same as Physical 100. Physical 100 is a different setup, and one of the biggest costs for them, no doubt, besides the setup of the area, is paying all the well-known people to participate in their show. And not to mention the prize money.
Prize money. Do you think they pay the well-known people ahead of time?
Yes, they're definitely getting paid at least 10 to 20,000 would be my guess per
Damn.
person to show up.
I mean, darn.
So, and that's minimum. So,
Picked and made myself bleed. And that's wondering about Wyoming. Join us next time for something that we haven't planned ahead.
We'll probably go over the Wyoming Physical 100 fantasy.
Oh yeah. Join us next time where we fantasize. Bing.